Hello everyone and welcome back. So before I start, I want to talk about what I finished off my last video on, which is that I'm writing quite a bit now on the program that I'm going to be releasing. I'm not sure exactly when, but I'm still working on it, which is going to be on how to attain peace of mind. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, well, quite simply that right now we're living through difficult times, and it doesn't take a genius to know that right now having a peace of mind will be quite valuable for us in the coming years and whatever is going to be thrown at us. So I'm going to keep you updated on where I'm at. It won't be released anytime soon because I do need to lay this out in a way that's going to be very easy for people to understand, and also done the right way, right? All right, so the topic of today's discussion or my video is how everything is communicating with each other. And we often hear in spirituality how we're all one, that we're not separate individuals, but part of the whole. So from there, what does this give us in a sense? Because if we just stop at this notion that we're not separate individuals, what does this mean in a sense, right? Well, for me, it means that we're working together. It means that even when we have things that we appear to be different from us, that we can still work together in a sense. And this goes back to certain people in the past, such as René Descartes, which he talked about how the mind and the body was separate. And at first, a lot of people bought into this idea, as he was saying that the mind and the body were made out of two different substances. And then it took some individuals to start challenging this belief, where they said, well, if they're made out of two different substances, then why is the mind able to communicate with the body and vice versa? And what they meant by that is something simple as, like, when we're hungry, how does the mind know that we're hungry, that we should eat? So this is something that many people have suggested, that if we're different substances, or if we're made out, so let's say if we go a little bit further with this idea, that we have a soul and animals don't have souls. Well, how is a human being able to make a dog understand tricks, or like when we tell the dog to sit? How is a dog able to understand? And it's quite simple, that even though that we're two different species, that we're still able to communicate and understand each other. Now, it does not mean that it's as easy to communicate with a dog that it is with a human. But the fact is that we can still communicate, and it just takes a little bit more effort, or we need to be, in a sense, more creative, or to be more persistent on making sure that people understand. So the language of the dog is different from the language of the human, in a sense, right? But even there, is it different, right? So we in society are very much about working together, right? We strive to work together, and this is what makes us advance. If we're not able to work together, then we have quite a problem in our hands, which is that we will not be able to advance. as if we look at society in the whole, we can see that we've come quite a long way in a sense, right? Where we've developed a whole bunch of technology. And there was some Chinese involved, there was some Germans involved, there was some French, some English, Spanish, right? In some way, somehow, we are able to work together and create all that we have here. So, I'm saying this because we feel that we're different and there's no way that someone can understand us sometimes, and this mentality is the same as René Descartes, where probably he felt alone, and because of this he came up with the theory that the mind and the body were separate, and right. But what happens when we go about life and then all of a sudden something happens to us and then we see that we are in fact all connected? And I experienced this when quite a while ago when I did some magic mushrooms, and I went in the forest. And anybody that does magic mushrooms knows that intentions are quite important, and you can ask for something very specific, and very, very often you get what you want. Maybe not in the way that you anticipated, but you do get what you want. And for me that day, I wanted to experience what the first people that took mushrooms, I wanted to experience what they experienced. And what happened that day was that everything, all of life, was communicating with me in real time. And to say it was billions of entities or to beings communicating with me at the same time is an understatement. It was so intense because of the vast number of things communicating with me. And eventually I had to let go and not try to understand what they were telling me, because it was very overwhelming to have all this happen in real time. So this really showed me that we're all connected, that everything is communicating with us, and on a deep level we understand what everything is telling us. And what if there's a book or a theory or teachings that talk to us about that told us this? And I would say that one of the most important books that talks about this is the Kabbalion, which is Kabbalion, where they say the first principle is that all is mind. So everything is intelligent. Intelligence is able to communicate. And the second principle, which is as above, so below, talks about correspondence, where everything does communicate with each other. And if we look at the natural life, nature, we can see this when we see flocks of birds fly and they move from left to right, up and down, and they all move in unison without hitting each other. There's some very advanced communication going on there as they're traveling at high speeds, very close to each other, without hitting in each other. And this is quite a phenomenon to look when you see it in real time, where you see this grand intelligence just doing things that we do not believe it would be possible. But yet here it is, unraveling in front of our eyes. So what are the chances that this is the same thing happening when we have psychic events? When something is warning you that, oh, be careful about that car, that red car coming up from your right side, and then we do kind of like pay a small attention to it, and all of a sudden it runs a stop sign. And this happened to me one time, and it was like everything was going in slow motion, and it was very interesting to experience because of how time slowed down. But before that, it was quite a split second where it draw my attention. And if it didn't do that and the time didn't slow down, that we would have probably collided. So there's things like this happening in life on a day-to-day basis, where it's showing us that we are always communicating with each other. And isn't this amazing that if we are able to be quiet and listen, that we will know what to do? And this is very important in these times, because with all the chaos happening in life, if we can become quiet and listen, we will hear what we need to do. So despite how crazy it'll be, that if we can be quiet and listen, that we will know what to do. So what's the point of this? Well, for me, the first point is that we're not alone. The second point is what I just said, is that if we can listen, we will know what to do. But we need to be quiet. We need to find a way to get out of our heads and just listen. So what do you think? Have you experienced anything like this, where either everything was communicating with you, or that you had a premonition? You know, sometimes it's something as simple as the phone ringing and you saying, oh, this is John. And it happens to be John, right? We fail to acknowledge these things as magical moments in our lives, when in fact they are so magical. So it'd be interesting to hear any stories that anybody has to say about this, because I'm sure that almost every single one of us has experienced something. So I thank you all for listening. I hope that you're all well, and that you're keeping the faith, and that we can start paying attention to what life is trying to tell us during these difficult times. So I love you all. I wish you all the best, and until next time.